Hey, welcome to Lindner's Uncorked. This is where we take you behind the scenes of what it takes to make a fishing show. You know, we do 13 shows a year, 2 segments per show. It's 26 segments. We probably spend how many days a year would you say on the water?
Upwards of 300 days in the water over the course of a year. And we're not always filming, but there's a lot of pre-fishing involved in finding a good bite. It takes a tremendous amount of work to get a show, and part of that is the hunt before you actually go and shoot.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tough. I mean, you can agree when you're sitting there and you know you got work to get done, so we're both locked in our editing suites doing whatever we're doing, and here's somebody come down the hall and they're talking about a bass bite or a crappie bite or something, and it's going on right now.
Every day.
Yeah, it's like a little kid. It's like summer school, and you're looking outside of the glass going, oh, it's so nice out there. Well, you're cooped up doing homework, you know. So today we're going to talk about crappie fishing. I mean, crappies are probably one of my favorite fish to catch. You know, you like catching them. You know, we fish for them all 4 seasons, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, universally throughout the country, crappie are probably in the top 2 most pursued game fish.
Yeah.
They're just, anybody can catch them. It doesn't take a lot of money. They're delicious, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons people love them. Table fare, man. Taking some food home is a great gift about fishing. People love that.
So today we're going to take a look at this segment. We're going to rewind it and show you what it took to make this segment, you know, and there was a lot of stuff a lot of man hours that went into doing it, but it ended up being a stellar piece.
It was a fabulous bite. It was one of those magical bites where we didn't have to work exceptionally hard. Although we did pre-fish quite a bit during a Minnesota walleye opener, but let's go take a look.
Yeah.
Large lakes with plenty of room to roam tend to grow the best populations of slab crappies. They also offer numerous places for big crappies to elude anglers throughout the season. But during the peak period of spring, schools of fish that once patrolled many acres of main lake weed lines and drop-offs now funnel down into a few square yards of classic shallow water habitat. Find the correct combinations of favorable depth, protective cover, and proper bottom content, and you're well on your way to spring crappie success.
Rig this right here, right here, right here. Yep. Look at this, Daniel. Huh?
Huge.
Look at the size of that fish. That is a giant crappie. Today we're enjoying one of the rites of passages of spring, and that's catching big crappies. We're on a lake right now that's over 100,000 acres. The bay we're in is about 5,000 acres, and it's shallow. There's only one shot at catching these fish, and that's in the spring. And we're gonna show you some techniques for catching big slabs like this right out of the gates. Beauty.
Beautiful fish. Away you go, back to your nest.
Whoop, there we go.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yep. Nice.
Nice blackie. I love seeing that float drop like that. It's so much fun.
Ooh, big black one, Dan. Oh, I
Got
doubled
one?
up.
Double up. Boy, it's
in a
funny,
spot
you
like
get
this.
into a little school of them, and here they are. A double header, Jeremy. You know, like Jeremy said earlier, we're on a big natural lake, and these crappies like to do their deal in the reeds. But whether you're fishing on a reservoir or a river, it's a different story. Shortly after ice out, the crappies in natural lakes typically move directly into the back ends of shallow bays and channels. With weed cover being poor at this time of the year, bulrushes provide critical spawning habitat for crappies. Looking into the water with polarized sunglasses often reveals their presence amidst the network of stalks and stems. On reservoirs, crappies similarly move towards the back ends of coves in spring. Shallow flats with good brush or wood cover are prime early season crappie attractors for both feeding and spawning. Big rivers usually have significant flooded backwater areas during spring high water conditions. Crappies flock to the backwaters, seeking the protection of flooded brush that lies outside the brunt of the main river flow.
You can see the type of cover we're fishing. It's pretty heavy. It's just starting to come up. So what you see on the surface isn't a realistic view of what's actually down there. What I'm doing is I'm casting out, finding a little pocket that I can see visually, and then kind of just letting the wind play the cork. Oop, oh, and Daniel's got the technique. Attaboy.
Just like that.
Yeah, just let the cork work its way through, right, Dan? And then if you get hung up, you pop it a little bit, and usually just after you pop it off the cover, you catch a giganto. Like you got another big one there, Dan.
It's all right. Look at it, that's so cool in the water.
Look
I
at
love
him.
that.
Yeah. Oh, Jerry's gonna
Jerry
get one.
got one. Jerry got another one.
You got to pay attention too, Dan, to where like you got bit there, so that my cork drift into your area. There's definitely pods of them. You can be off by 5 feet, and they're not gonna bite it. The strike zone is so small, you really got to put it in front of them, huh? How about this? Dan, I'm coming back so we can get a little double lift on these bad boys, huh?
Boy,
That's a good time.
it's really tough to beat, man, in the spring like that.
Did I get you? Who's his? Oh boy, they're just twins. All right.
Perfect.
Man, that was one of those magical moments on the water. Ryan, why don't you set it up and tell us a little bit of the backstory, what it took to get that particular
Sure,
segment.
you know, crappie can be real fickle in the spring. Anywhere between that 57 to 62 degree water temperature, they're in between pre-spawn and spawn phase. So sometimes they're not up. You can have a 1 degree change in water temperature, the whole population of the lake is up. Case in point, a week prior to shooting what you just saw, that show, we went out on the local lake around Brainerd on a report that Al had. He did really good. Creamed a bunch of pre-spawn crappie that were staging in the saddle area before they moved up into this reed bed. Well, we went out the next day, and it wasn't happening. We, just grounded out the whole day. Probably got about 8 nice crappie, but it just wasn't a strong piece. And as an editor, well, I mean, you want to put the best show possible forward out of our 13 episodes, and it just wasn't happening. So after that shoot, we prepared for the Minnesota Walleye opener, which just happened to be 1 week later. And a big group of guys, 15 guys, went up, rented this big lodge in northern Minnesota on a classic walleye lake. It also happens to be one of the best crappie lakes in the state. And we knew we were right on the tipping point of these fish moving up. And yeah, it's fine catching a bunch of cigar walleye, but if you got the opportunity to catch a pound, pound and a half crappie, you're gonna take that any day of the week, because, it's just such a special thing. Those fish in this lake are huge, and when they're up, that's what you're gonna be doing. You'd rather do that than catch 8-pound walleye.
Right.
So we had a bunch of guys cruising all of these bays that we know the crappies spawn, and I even brought an 8-foot step ladder. And Kyle Peterson was driving my boat around the perimeter of this 4,000 acre bay. Nothing was up. Timing was just off. But Bill stuck around. Bill Lindner was up shooting that following week. So we went home Sunday night. Bill was up on Monday. And on Tuesday, he reported back to the office saying that they were coming up. Crappies
Yeah, they're in.
and bluegills.
That's when you get the call that the crappies are in. It's like you're up on point,
And when they're in on this lake, you want to go, because as you can see, pound and a half fish and some really beautiful bluegills mixed in too are hard to resist.
Yeah.
And we just have to always afford ourselves that flexibility to go on a whim. When it's happening with crappies, you got to get on it, because timing is everything.
Yeah, timing is the deal, man.
Oh, look at this. Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, you got a couple of them following.
There are, aren't there? Look
Yeah,
at
there
that.
were.
Yeah.
There was.
Oh, it's a big bass
It's a
that
big
wants
bass.
to eat 'em.
Yep. Big bass. Look at the size of
That's
that
a
guy.
big bass, man. That's one of the fun things about fishing in the spring like this too. It's so visual. You see dogfish, you see largemouths, you see crappies, big gills. It's a real visual experience out here as well. And that's actually visually is how we found the fish. We were to find them this time of year. Your sonar doesn't do you that much good because it's so shallow. You need to get up on the bow and have one guy just kick the trolling motor in gear and start looking, or have somebody on the Mercury and just idle your way through these reed beds and look with your eyes. And once you see a wad of them, you stop, start fishing them, and all you do is have a good time back in the water. Coming in for a little more meat.
There we go.
No.
Ooh, a big one. Big one. Big one. On Trigger X.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
a big one.
Get the net.
Get the net. I'm on it. I won't let you down. I won't let you down, Dan. Oh, big fish. Yeah. After
There we
dumping
go.
that last one, it's probably not a bad idea to net the bigger ones, Dan.
You'll see what Jeremy and I are doing is a little bit like surgery. We're casting into spots, but we're not making too long a cast, and that's kind of the trick. Jeremy will lock us up with the spot lock on the Minn Kota, and it'll hover us right here, and then we can make these casts and work the floats. We're using the wind to our advantage.
This feature Daniel's talking about here, I'm going to push this anchor twice. Boom, I'm locked. The spot lock, oh, there's one. The spot lock feature is a really nice tool to have. I mean, Daniel just caught one. I got one on, believe it or not. And you just hit this anchor button twice. I keep it in my pocket. Bingo, you're on these fish. You're not going to lose the school. You don't have to throw the anchor out, get a bunch of mud and weeds in the boat, and you're on the fish. You just stay there and hold on to them. Look at this. I mean, are you kidding me? The average size of these fish is a mind bender. My mind has been blown today on the size of these fish. Big water is big fish, and the time to get them is in the spring. You can't expect to come out here in July, August, September and try to get these big fish, because they're in 4,000 acres of 6 feet of water and heavy cover. It just doesn't happen. So take advantage of the spring bright. I promise you're going to have a good time, and you're going to see the biggest crappies of the whole year. Let these big ones go. You don't need to be keeping a mess of these. They're a great resource. Big fish deserve to be let go.
I am jealous.
So how nice is that? We can just sit here, catch fish after fish after fish, and you'll notice the head on this iPilot here is just, it's constantly shifting and it's moving. It's compensating for wind, and it's compensating for the movements that we make in the boat, and it's holding us on a fixed GPS position, and it makes life a lot easier. Everybody's been there where you're trying to hold on the spot, then you catch a couple fish, then the wind blows you around, and where were the fish at? I think they were here, I think they were there, or you're trying to dig the anchor out. When you get them, you make noise. It's so easy, it's so slick. It's definitely a feature you want to have when you're fishing in a situation like this, because it makes it easy. You don't have to do anything except put bait on the hook and reel them in.
There we go. There we go.
Oh!
Swing and a miss.
Come on.
I know.
I mean, as you can see, that was hitting the nail on the head. The fish were up, they were cooperating, they were big, and it isn't always the case like that with crappie.
Yeah, the planets were definitely lined up, you know, and that's what we're talking about is timing.
It's tough getting shows, and Daniel knows better than anybody. He's been doing this business for a long time, and I mean, what's an example, a really grueling show, an endurance battle for you?
One thing that pops into my head is, I think it was 2003, Jim, Dan Sura, myself, were up on Lake of the Woods, midsummer, long days. You know, you're fishing from sun up to sundown, 12, 13-hour days, filming topwater muskie. The weather was 90 degrees, and how much does the old tape camera weigh? You know, like 15 pounds, something like that.
Oh yeah, 15, 20 pounds in your shoulder.
So you got and this is before they had cash features, so you basically had to roll tape all day long, and just, all you're doing is this with 15 pounds on your shoulder.
With the big Quikrete on your shoulder all day long.
Yeah, so you do that for 12 hours in 90-degree heat, 90% humidity. I mean, it was so hot, and do that for 3 days. It was insane. It was so tough. We ended up coming back and getting a piece on Mille Lacs, but I mean, it was just one of those deals. Everybody goes, man, you get the best job in the world. Yeah, it is. It's a cool job. It could be worse, but some things are just not that easy. You know?
It's physical. Hey, let's just go right down to the lowest common denominator about hard work. Hard work is physical work. I mean, yeah, you can be in an office and work really hard, but when you got to lift heavy things and do it for an extended period of time over multiple days, it's taxing, man. And then on top of that, you got the stress of, I just invested 4 days. I never got a show. We spent X amount of dollars. Each show has a certain production budget to come in and, you know, break even or hopefully have a margin. And the time is gone, but that's how it goes when you're working in an outdoor field when, you know, your quarry is fish, man. It's tough to get.
And on that point, you know, I think it's an interesting point that we fish for a lot of different species, you know, and we have to put the odds in our favor. So that's why we're talking about timing and television shows. We don't just go out and throw our chips in the wind and just go fish for whatever. We fish for fish that are more likely to bite on that particular day. This thing we're talking about here happens to be crappies, but if it's muskies, for example, I wake up and I get up in the morning. I've already got 2 phone calls from Jim and Al, and they're like, get your muskie stuff, meet me at the office, we're rolling, like right now, because you walk outside and it's dewy, damp, it's like musty, you know, it smells like muskies out, that's what it looks like. And so, you know, when it's hot and sunny and it's flat calm, you probably want to go smallmouth fishing. You don't want to go Lindy rigging for walleyes. You know, you want to chop for, you know, so it's that type of thing. We fish for a bunch of different species, and we put the odds in our favor with timing. You know?
I mean, your extended forecast is off all the time, so there's a big level of unpredictability in the next day. So
Right.
you wake up the next day and you get out, you look around, you smell, you feel what the weather's doing, and then you make a smart decision based on your instinct. Being a fisherman, what is it that we should go do today? You know what I
Yeah.
mean, is it bass? Is it walleye? Is it pike? Is it muskie? Is it panfish? But that's where having an intimate knowledge of fishing and being a fisherman and loving this more
Yeah,
than anything
right
else,
on.
being outside, that gives you a connection and makes you a really good producer of angling edge television shows.
Yeah, and it makes you guys at home better anglers, just being versatile enough to go out there and throw the chips down, you know, and see what's going on. You got to spend time on the water. You do.
Absolutely. I mean, when we're not fishing, we're expected to be on the water, scouting bites, learning tackle, learning rods, learning
Yeah.
new bodies of water.
Equipment, right.
And this is just one of the things that makes this such an awesome profession, because it combines a lot of different things. It combines technical expertise with cameras and post-production. I mean, that technology is changing all the time. You got to know fishing really well to be a good producer of fishing, and
Right.
you also got to be really creative. You got to be able to, you know, capture the essence of what it is you're doing. What is fishing? You know, why do we do this? Well,
Yeah.
we love it, and we love to educate people in fishing because this is what we live for.
Yeah.
We just do the best we can and get on the water as much as we can. And the beauty of having 15 people under the same roof that fish a lot is there's always something happening in the fishing world. We know what's happening around us, and you know, we got 4 people that can pick up a camera and go shoot a show, and you know, we're really opportunistic, just like the fish we're chasing.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Oh! Swing and a miss.
Come on.
I know. It's, yeah, he directly goes right into the spot.
Oh, I can't let that slide. Oop, here we go. Oh, look at that. Bingo. Look at it going down ever so slowly. And it's a hookup.
Nice.
This is a good time. Action, man. I just love it. How many times you get to go out and not have, you know, catch big fish, but numbers of big fish, so you got the action and the size to boot. I mean, come on. They're all huge. They're all huge. This is as good as it gets for pan fishing, man. This is as good as it gets. Watching the bobber go down. Ding, ding, ding. There's one, there's one, there's one. It's fun. Simple, fun, and the fish are big. Huh? Now the strike zone for these fish is surprisingly small, and that's why the cork is so critical right now. If you're working a horizontal moving bait over these fish, they're not in the mood right now when they're spawning to come up and chase baits around and eat them. They want something that's just drifting by real slow in front of their face. And I'd say the strike zone is less than a foot, even though there's clarity. They're building nests and they're not wanting to move. So springtime spawning fish, corking a lot of times is the only way to present a bait. Slip floats provide distinct advantages for effectively fishing crappies in thick cover. They collapse into compact casting packages that deploy your lure directly downward once the bobber enters the water. Set the bobber stop to position your bait slightly above the depth of the fish and occasionally jiggle the float in place to trigger bites. We typically prefer small, subtle jigs in that 32nd to 16th ounce range for float fishing crappies. Color choice is often white, chartreuse, yellow, or pink. VMC's tinsel jigs and hot skirts jigs provide additional flash, color, and a great shimmer to help crappies detect your jig in stained or dark water. Aggressive crappies will strike plain jigs, but when the fish are fussy, enhance your offering by tipping your jigs with small soft baits or crappie minnows. Right there. There we go. I wasn't paying attention. I was looking
Here,
for
let me
another
net
one,
'em.
and here they are, right next to the boat. Wow! Look at that. Look at that. That thing is huge. You'll notice the rod and reel that I'm using to catch these babies, that big size fish, is more like a bass combo right now. I've got a Quantum Catalyst reel, and it's not a super tiny reel. It's like the size reel you'd use for live bait fishing for walleyes or whatever, and it serves 2 functions. One, the line comes off the reel a lot better on the cast, and I have better pickup when I do set the hook on a fish, so I've got more speed in my retrieve. And then this rod is about 7 feet long. It's got a little bit of a fast action, a soft taper. The rod allows me to cast the bait further. I get a little load in the rod on the cast, and then it also gives me a little bit of play in the fish, but it's got plenty of backbone because they're getting wrapped up in the cover. So a nice super light combo like this with a little catalyst reel, beauty combo for catching these crappies. Pre-spawn crappies often cluster in very specific areas that fulfill their seasonal needs for both spawning and feeding. If you hit this time right, it is absolutely lights out. But you have to be respectful of the resource because large portions of the adult fish population are overly susceptible to fishing pressure. Overharvesting at this time can spell big problems in the future.
Nice.
It is okay to keep a few fish for eating, but carefully releasing the rest helps maintain a healthy breeding population to ensure great fishing opportunities in the future. Look at that baby, huh?
Hey, for more detailed info on or to purchase any products on this or any episode of Lindner's Uncorked, go to lindermedia.com, and thanks for watching.